Okay, who are the Fatimids? They ruled from 909 to 1171. After a number of unsuccessful risings, the Ismaili Shia got a firm base in Yemen, but they sent also emissaries to North Africa, and they got a stronghold in Al-Mahdiya after Al-Mahdi, one of their imams in Tunis. They even ruled the rest of North Africa and Sicily and even parts of Italy, southern Italy. Amazing. Well, the height of their expansion in the east was reached in 1057, 1059, when a general in Iraq proclaimed the Fatimid Caliphate in Mosul, and he was close to Baghdad. But the general was driven out by the Turks. Al-Mustansir, 1036-94, brought Egypt into a vicious circle of anarchy and tyranny, famine and plague, etc. And then Al-Hakim, 996-1021, he has a special eccentric behavior, and he caused some problems to his successors and starting point of the decline. In 1073, a soldier called Badr al-Jamali went to Cairo at the invitation of the Caliph, and in one night his officers rounded up the leading generals and officials and put them to death when Egypt came under the rule of a military regime, as always. And then in Cairo, Hassan al-Sabbah, an Ismaili movement, went to Syria with a bunch of assassins, Hashashin. They used to smoke hash and kill. Al-Hafiz, in 1130, this is an Egyptian Hafiz, in fact Al-Hafiz, 1130-49, had his own group. You know, they split into different groups, but his son was not recognized, and they claimed that there is an infant son who was now the hidden imam, but the Yemenites refused to recognize Al-Hafid and his successor in Cairo. And finally, in 1171, the Kurdish leader Salah ad-Din brought the Fatimid dynasty to a halt. Anyway, so to just sum it up as quickly as possible, Fatimid, by reference to Fatima, the flowery daughter of the Prophet Muhammad. It's strange that her name, Fatima, can be found in one of the towns in Portugal, but this is for the Christians. They have their own miracles, etc. But Fatima is important because together with Ali, Hassan, and Hussein, they are the people of the cloak. If you remember, the Prophet and his household, Al-Bayt, sat under the cloak and called for the Christians of Yemen for imprecation, but they refused. And actually, there is a verse in the Quran. I hope to find it easily. Yes, I did. They said, come, let us gather together, our sons and your sons, our women and your women, ourselves and yourselves. Then let us earnestly pray and invoke the curse of Allah on those who lie. La'natullahi ala al-kadibin. You know, the Prophet Muhammad invited those Christian Arabs to his mosque, and he said, Jesus is my brother, although Jesus is a Jew and Muhammad is Arab. But the Christians insisted that Jesus is Son of God. And then they agreed about cursing each other in front of God to see who is the liar, but the Christians refused. You know the story from my previous YouTube. But the household of the Prophet were killed by their enemies. Let's say some say the Umayyads, and some say they were killed by their own helpers. Those who promised to help them, they betrayed them. And one key word to understand the Fatimids and the Ismailites, the Ismaili, because Ismailites mean Arab. The Ismaili Shia group that made up the Fatimids, the Fatimiyun. The Mahdi is important because there is a genealogy of the household of the Prophet, which starts with Ali and Hassan and Hussein. It's very clear, we understand and we recognize them as Muslims. But after Ali and Hassan Hussein, Ali, you have a debate about Muhammad bin Ali, Ja'far bin Muhammad, Musa bin Ja'far al-Kadhim, etc. Until you find the 11th, who is Al-Askari. But unfortunately, Al-Askari didn't have any progeny, didn't have a son. So here comes the messianic, especially when some people are oppressed, they tend to see miracles and hope in the power of God and sending them like a Jesus. Like in the Christian belief, they say that Jesus will come back, or Jesus come back to us. So, the household of the Prophet were wronged by the Umayyads first. The Abbasid promised to help them, but in fact they just wrote in their name. So another group of Shia, the Fatimiyun, tried to topple the Abbasid and drive them out of Baghdad, the center of the Islamic Empire. But they succeeded in Tunisia and Yemen. They started moving step by step, and ultimately Al-Mu'izz, Qahiratul Mu'izz, took Cairo and Egypt and North Africa became Fatimi for some time. But then they faced the enemies from within and from without. From without, they have the Sunnis, because they could convert the Sunnis in spite of their agents and missionaries. The Berbers, the Turks, and also the Christians of Byzantium. These are the enemies of outside. But inside, they have different splits and groups. Maybe dozens of Shia groups fighting for each other and not recognizing the imams, and especially the last one. So at the end, someone said, our 12th imam is hidden somewhere, and he will only come back at the end of time to establish justice on earth. Wasa.